Chidi was only 12 when his parent forsake him for his dream. In the serene town of Umuoma, where the golden fields stretched endlessly, life seemed simple. But beneath its picturesque surface, the lives of its people were layered with complex emotions, untold stories, and unspoken pain. Among them was a young boy, Chidi, who carried the weight of his world on fragile shoulders. Chidi was 12, a boy whose eyes sparkled with dreams that felt too big for his small world. He lived in a modest hut with his father, Nana, a stern farmer, and his mother, Adaora, a quiet but loving woman. Life for Chidi revolved around school, chores, and the occasional escape into the pages of old, tattered books he borrowed from his teacher, Mr. Ease. But things were never easy. Nana believed that discipline was the cornerstone of success. "Spare the rod, spoil the child," he would often say, his words as firm as his grip on the cane he carried. Adora, though gentle, rarely defied her husband, believing her silence was the glue holding their fragile family together. Chidi, however, carried a secret. Every evening, after the fields were quiet and the sky painted in hues of orange and purple, he would sneak away to a small clearing by the river. There he worked on a strange contraption, a model of a windmill. Inspired by a book Mr. Ease had given him, Chidi dreamed of harnessing the wind to generate power for his village. But this dream, beautiful as it was, seemed forbidden. His father, practical to the bone, dismissed such ambitions as wastes of time. One fateful day, Chidi returned home late from school. He had stayed back to help Mr. Ease repair the classroom's broken chalkboard. By the time he reached home, dusk had fallen, and the air was heavy with the scent of approaching rain. Nana was waiting on the porch, his face a thundercloud. "Where have you been?" he demanded, his voice cutting through the still evening. I, I stayed back to help Mr. Ease," Chidi stammered, clutching his notebook tightly. Before he could explain further, Nana's cane lashed out, striking his arm. "Do you think life is a game? Do you think your future will wait for you to play?" Adaora watched from the doorway, her hands trembling. She wanted to intervene but knew better than to cross her husband when he was angry. That night, Chidi lay on his mat, staring at the ceiling. His dreams felt further away than ever, buried beneath the weight of his father's expectations and his own growing fear of failure. The next day, bruised but determined, Chidi escaped to his clearing by the river. The windmill model stood tall, its wooden blades spinning gently in the breeze. Here, he felt free, away from his father's harsh words and the burdens of tradition. He poured his heart into his work, his hands moving with a precision that belied his age. Unknown to Chidi, Mr. Ease had followed him that day. The teacher stood quietly, watching the boy's dedication and the spark of genius in his work. When Chidi finally noticed him, he froze, expecting reprimand. But instead, Mr. Ease smiled. "This is incredible, Chidi," he said. "You must show this to the village elders. They need to see what you're capable of." Chidi shook his head, fear flashing in his eyes. "My father will never allow it. He says these things are useless." Mr. Ease's heart ached for the boy. He promised to find a way to help, but warned Chidi to be cautious. "Sometimes dreams threaten those who don't understand them," he said. Weeks passed, and Chidi's secret project grew more sophisticated. He even managed to light a small bulb using the power generated by his windmill. But one evening, as he returned home, he found his father holding the windmill's broken pieces. The betrayal hit him like a thunderbolt. "You dare defy me?" Nana bellowed. "You waste your time on this nonsense while the farm suffers?" Chidi's voice cracked with emotion. "It's not nonsense. It can help our village." The slap came swiftly, silencing him. Adaora wept silently in the corner, torn between her love for her son and her loyalty to her husband. That night, Chidi ran away, clutching the remnants of his windmill. He sought refuge in Mr. Easy's home, where the teacher welcomed him with open arms. As the days turned into weeks, Chidi's absence began to weigh on his parents. Adaora fell ill from worry, and even Nana's stoic demeanor began to crack. But their pride kept them from seeking him out. Meanwhile, Chidi's work caught the attention of a visiting government official, thanks to Mr. Ease. The official, impressed by Chidi's ingenuity, offered to fund his education in the city. Just as Chidi's future seemed bright, tragedy struck. Adaora, weakened by her illness, passed away. The news shattered Chidi, who blamed himself for her death. Consumed by guilt, he returned home, hoping to reconcile with his father. Nana, broken by his wife's death and his son's absence, welcomed Chidi back with open arms. For the first time, he listened as Chidi explained his dreams and demonstrated his windmill's potential. Together, father and son rebuilt the windmill, their bond strengthening with each nail and plank. The windmill became a symbol of hope for the village, powering a small water pump that transformed their farmlands. Years later, Chidi, now a successful engineer, stood beside his father as they unveiled a larger windmill that powered the entire village. The journey had been painful, but it had forged an unbreakable bond and left an indelible mark on their lives.